on.
Greetings and welcome to another powerful edition of the Community Defender Talk Show, one powerful hour of truth, dispelling falsehood. I'm your host, Brother Darrell Muhammad, and we are so glad that you have taken time out of your busy schedules to tune in to this program and this most important topic. We, of course, do not apologize for focusing on Black issues, Black suffering, things that Black people can do to solve Black problems. It's not about hating other people, but we do love ourselves, and we make no apologies for that love. We make no apologies for that emphasis on that which is Black, that which uplifts Black, that which helps Black, that which uplifts and unites Black. And so we are not ashamed or going to take a back seat or give a back seat to our concerns. Now, tonight's topic is We Are at War, Part 2. Now, the reason that we came with a Part 2 was because we couldn't do it all in Part 1. Because a lot of us are under the illusion of inclusion, that we, in fact, are just like any other citizen, that we live in America and we have the same rights as anybody else. No, we want to be included like everybody else, but for some reason, we don't understand that we are not included and will not be included like everybody else. And that war has literally been declared on us and our population, and we have to deal with that absolute fact that war, actual war, has been made against us, our families, our children, our future, and we live under a governmental authority that intends our absolute and complete destruction one way or another. And that attack is a multi-tiered attack. It is in the media. Those things that hit our minds that are false. It is also in the education system or the miseducation system. It's also an attack in the water, in the food and the chemicals of food. It is in the criminal and justice system. Every area of society is a raid against the Black man and woman, is a raid in a wicked way against us and our people. People say, well, you can make it. I'm not saying that Black folks can't make it. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that you cannot get a house. I'm not saying that you can't get a car. I'm not saying that you can't get anything. But what I am saying is that you can't get justice. And one of the examples is we had our sister Sonia Massey, who was murdered. And of course, the officer was convicted of second-degree murder. I don't know if we have a graphic of that demon, but that beautiful sister was murdered. And she was, I guess, making some tea when the officer arrived, and they claimed to be threatened by the boiling water when she was in her doggone kitchen. And they shot her in the face and killed her because they desired to shed Black blood. What you had was a bloodthirsty beast with a badge that came to a Black woman's house and murdered her. So what I'm saying is she had a house. Sonia Massey had a house. Sonia Massey had a car. Sonia Massey had a place to live. Sonia Massey had a job. But Sonia Massey, like none of us, Sonia Massey didn't get justice. Okay? So I'm not saying that you can't get something material by working twice as hard for half as much. Yeah, you can get some material. You can get you a Gucci belt. You can get you some Gucci, but that's a bunch of trinkets. What you cannot get in the American society is justice. Because again, Sonia Massey had a house. She was a homeowner, wasn't she? She was in a house, not an apartment, when the officer came. But her brains were blown out, even though she had a house, even though she had a car, and she may have had over a 700 credit score, which is what they say we're supposed to have in this society, right? Above a 700 credit score. but that did not save her life. This wicked demon with a badge, under the color of law, came in and murdered her. So when I say we're at war, I'm not talking about what we can get material. I'm not talking about black elected officials. Because heck, we had a black mayor in Kip Holden for 12 years, but it didn't stop Alton Sterling from getting murdered. It didn't stop George Temple from getting murdered. It didn't stop black women from being sexually assaulted by white officers. It did not stop anything because you had a black council member or black elected officials. I want you to be clear. I want us to be clear on this. You can get a house. I'm in a house right now. I have a vehicle. I have another vehicle in a garage, but I cannot get justice from the system. Understand that. I have education. I have a bachelor's. I have a Juris Doctor degree, but I am not treated justly, even though I got education. All right? You cannot educate yourself out of injustice in this wicked system that is called America. I'm just laying it out there for you. You can study, we can get PhDs, all that is good. Get as much education as you can. But justice is not what you're going to get. You can get a PhD. You can become the head of Harvard, like Professor Gay was, but you couldn't get justice. You can become the president of LSU, like a brother was, but you can't get justice. You can become the head of the LSU law school as a black woman, but you're going to be treated with racism and you cannot get justice. You can get a lot of stuff, but you can't get freedom, justice, or equality in this system. You can only achieve some material gain, and they'll let some of us hold office, but they're the ones financing the campaign. Now, what we want to do before we get deeper into this subject, and hopefully I laid a base that is going to be clear for everybody to understand what we're talking about. Because a lot of us want to play dumb, because we want to go along, to get along, we want to fit in. But sometimes fitting in with this world, with this European racist world, means that you don't fit into God's kingdom. I'm going to say it again. Sometimes when you fit into this European racist world, you cannot fit in to God's kingdom. All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take what we call a Farrakhan break. And we're going to hear some words and wisdom, some vintage Farrakhan for us to marinate on and open up our minds to what the real deal is. And the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, of course, always loves us enough to tell us the truth. Brother Director, if you will, you can go ahead and show that video.
Could change the reality of black suffering in America, because when you are running for something, you can say a lot of things, but when you sit in the seat and you feel the energy of electricity putting something on your backside, the forces that surround power is always the real power. President Obama does not run this country. President Obama has been chosen to govern white affairs. And if in that process we get something, it won't be because the governing powers want it. It will be because we organized and forced a government to speak to our needs. Now, look, thank you for the question. You know, I want it clearly said in love that I love my brother. I voted for him. At 5 o'clock in the morning, I was out there with my wife voting for our brother. I, like you, am very proud that a black man sits in the White House. But I also understand very clearly, and we should understand, that it is the White House. And until we exercise power to force that house to address our agenda. Now remember, our dear sister Julianne Malvo mentioned A. Philip Randolph. Man, that was long time ago. And the cry was jobs and justice. In the March on Washington in 1963, the cry was jobs and justice. In the 20-year anniversary of the March on Washington, the cry was jobs and justice. We are now in 2010. And what is the cry?
Jobs and justice.
Well, wait a minute. How long are you going to sit around begging white people to do for us what we have the power to do for ourselves? Excuse me. I'm quite passionate, so you all set me off. You know that. And I love it. But listen, an agenda is a program, a schedule, a timetable, a plan, a list, a scheme to accomplish a certain result. We have come up with black agendas, but we've been looking to the wrong people to fulfill our agenda. If Franklin Delano Roosevelt said to A. Philip Randolph, yeah, everything you told me is right. The Negroes need this, the Negroes are suffering that. Now you
All right, good brother.
All right then. Now, of course, we just heard from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan really gave us in that short clip really the key to it all, and that is that we have to do something for ourselves. Now, if, for example, somebody is at war with us through the food, through the sterilants that are in staple goods, and there are literally plummeting sperm counts among men based upon what's in the environment and what's in the foods, and it is absolutely by design. Now, if that's the case, and it is, how do you combat that? How do you combat the chemical warfare being made against you as a black person? You fight that by growing your own food. All of us, as it was 50, 60 years ago, should have gardens. Okay, Darrell Muhammad has a garden. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan has instructed us in the Nation of Islam to all move toward growing something, growing our own food. And he has instructed black people to do the same. all black people, whether you're Muslim, Christian, or whatever, you need to be attempting to grow herbs, to grow some sort of garden. I don't care if it's a couple of heads of cabbage, but start with something to begin to grow your own food, because they are at war with you in part through the food and through the water. Many people, many black folks have moved to rural areas in Georgia, New Mexico, and other areas and have drilled wells, sometimes in Texas, drilled wells to get well water so that we will not be subject to the sterilants and the lead that is a part of the municipal water supply in this country, particularly in black communities. And that is why a lot of our children in the inner city right here in Baton Rouge have high lead levels in the blood, because the pipes that move in our community are different from the pipes that bring water to the communities of other people. We have high lead levels among many of our children in North Baton Rouge and other carcinogens. And as you know, lead is a neurotoxin. It slows down the development of the central nervous system. It retards learning. It does all manner of wickedness against the body that the scientists say is not reversible. So I just wanted to mention that to you. And as we deal with this, we are at war, which is going to take more than two. I'm not going to do them all in a row, but understand we are going to revisit the topic of we are at war. And what is a war? A war is a struggle against a declared enemy. It is a struggle against a declared enemy with the express objective of making that enemy to yield or to destroy that enemy outright. And that is what has been declared on us. It hasn't been verbally told to us, because they still need us to temporarily buy into the system. And many of us believe that it's the Republicans when it's really the Americans. It is the American government that is planning the destruction of black people. That is the reason why they are closing down schools and building prisons. Right here in the city of Baton Rouge, right down the street from Lafayette, right up the road from Henderson, is a situation where they're looking to spend $400 million to build a brand new, larger jail, while at the same time closing down high schools in the city parish. So they're closing schools and opening up brand new jails. That's war on you, bro. And you and I need to understand that. Now, there's a sister, and I've told people for years, at least 10 years, I've told people to read this book. It's called The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. It's called The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. It's about, I would say about 13 years old. But it is a book that the substance of it is right up to date. And she breaks down the whole legal system, how the different court cases forced you and I into this prison system. And when we are in a prison system, then we're away from our families. We cannot give the benefit of our learning very oftentimes to our children, because we're doing these lifetime bids. Lifetime bids very often for non-violent offenses. And this crime bill, which really decimated our community, it wasn't signed by Donald Trump, who of course we know is racist, but it was signed by racist Democrats. And the problem with our people is that we think that one party is better than the other one. One party openly wants to kill your man. The other party wants to put your man in a dress and make him cut off his genitalia. Okay. One party wants to outright murder your man. and the other party wants to feminize and neutralize your man, both parties don't have a good plan for the man. The LGBTQ agenda is bad for black people. The abortion agenda is bad for black people, bad for our population growth, bad for our future. And we wind up doing things to the very people in our family. Imagine you're murdering a member of your own family, and you know they're a member of your own family because you're carrying them inside of your womb. You know you're related to them. And society pressures you into believing that it's a liberating thing to take the life of your own child, which doesn't make sense, but yet that's what it is. And I wanted to mention the counterintelligence program of J. Edgar Hoover. See, you and I struggled for civil rights. We struggled for human rights. We struggled for the right to vote. We tried to utilize the system in a way where the system would actually benefit us. And, you know, we played the game that white folks told us to play all through the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. But there was a program called the Counterintelligence Program, started by J. Edgar Hoover. Some people call him Gay Edgar Hoover because he did have some issues with his sexuality and manhood. And that just goes to show you that black people do not have righteous opposition. The people that oppose us and our rights are very wicked. And they have all kinds of other problems. Those people that oppose us and our ascendancy to our rightful place as a people are wicked people. Now, J. Edgar Hoover set up a counterintelligence program where he sent spies into all black organizations. He sent spies into the Nation of Islam, spies into the Black Panther Party, spies into the SCLC, spies into SNCC, spies into CORE. And he sent those spies in to act as though they were members, but he sent them in with certain objectives. And I'm going to outline the 3 objectives. The first objective was to disrupt, discredit, and then misdirect. So you send somebody in an organization, you know that they're just trying to get the right to vote. But you send somebody in there to be disruptive. You send somebody in to start arguments. You send somebody in there to screw around with somebody's wife or somebody's husband, to cause discord, right? So you disrupt. And then when you create the scandal, you use that scandal to discredit everybody. You know, when they sent those women in on Dr. King, it was to disrupt and then use those things that happened to discredit him, and then ultimately to misdirect the movement altogether. And they did that in the Nation of Islam. They did that in the Black Panther Party. And even though that program is not declared in 2025, there are informants, and we know this, in every single black organization. And as a matter of fact, and this is what the Honorable Louis Farrakhan was able to find out, there is a team of a minimum of 100 persons whose only job, and I want you to listen to what I'm saying, only job is to find out and keep track of Minister Farrakhan. There's 100 people for the past 40 years that their only job has been to disrupt and monitor the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and to talk to agents within the organization, agents without the organization, in an effort to disrupt, discredit, misdirect the goals, aims, and aspirations of the nation and the good work that we would try to do. All right. And it's one thing to hear about it. It's another thing to actually see somebody working in your organization in a way that is disruptive and misdirects you from the goals and the activities which leads to the accomplishment of the goals. So I wanted to lay that out there too. All right. We are at war. And when somebody sets up a prison system, okay, they set up a miseducation system that is a pipeline from the school to the prison. This is war. They've already declared war. You're trying to negotiate and integrate into something, talking about the progress we've made. Look at all the black elected officials we have. We have more black elected officials, but we have less families. We have more black elected officials, but we have less black businesses, less viable businesses. We have less family structure, more chaos in our community, and black elected officials are not going to solve that problem. See, they can give you a bunch of symbol, but the question becomes, where is the substance? And that's what now those who get elected to office are happy to be elected. And they always tell you to vote. They always tell you, always get out to vote, exercise your right to vote. And it's okay to exercise your right to vote, but what's the goal? What are we trying to achieve? What's the long-term goal? And the reason that a lot of black people who used to vote have stopped voting is because they do not see the progress that was promised to them 20 or 30 years ago. They don't see any progress. They see mass incarceration. They see the same thing I see. They see blight, things going down. They see disunity. They see black elected officials selling out. And I'm just going to give you an example. Right here in Louisiana, they're working on a $400 million arena at LSU and a $400 million prison on the southern end, on the northern end of the parish. So they're going to give white folks entertainment and black folks jail, and the Black Metro Council people are voting for both of those things. They're voting for white projects. White people want jail for Negroes. They're voting for it. White people want entertainment for themselves, and the Black Council people are voting for it. So where is the progress? Where is the progress? They can't show it to you. Now, recently, and this is just a local example of a war against black people. Recently, Mayor Sid Edwards had some text messages that were released, and he was in contact with liaisons, it appears, from the Trump administration, and they wanted to send ICE into the city, and they wanted to, of course, send the National Guard into Baton Rouge. Now, I understand you only send the National Guard when it's an emergency. But in the text messages, he wanted his Thrive plan, the vote for the Thrive plan, to actually go through first before ICE and the National Guard would be sent in, which means that if you need to delay it, that means it's not an emergency. So what he wanted to do was not upset us so he can get the taxes that he wanted to get out of us and then send in the National Guard against us.
Brother Darrell, we have a phone call. You want to open the lines now?
Yeah, let's go ahead and open it up.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, good topic there, Brother Darrell. I'm glad you brought We're at War Part 2 because looked like I offended some of the listeners the other day because they didn't have nothing positive to say about what's going on with our black community, but always talking about how they're for the black people. if you're full of black people and you don't have nothing to say, please be quiet and let people who trying to solve these problems that we know can be solved if we come on the same page and get these people that's really interfering with our thinking by following this voting. But I want to get to that because you did say how we vote thinking is giving us power. Voting has never gave us power from what I've been studying. Voting is a process of you giving up your consent to their contempt. And once you vote these fake black leaders that we think are leaders in, we cannot complain about what they're doing. I can complain because I don't vote no more, because I didn't vote for this, and my tax dollars is going to these people. And we as black people not paying attention to what is happening to white people, because as you see now, they thought that the SNAP balance that was being taken from people wouldn't go affect them. 55% of these white people voted for Trump. 37% of them are on welfare, SNAP, whatever they want to call it. It is affecting them more, and now they're crying, saying, we as black people got to come help them. Black people, please, if you do believe in higher power, we're getting what we've been asking for. We just got to pay attention to it, because whatever they was doing to us is now being done to them, and now it's a problem. But they voted for this, and we got to allow them to see what we done saw. And what we going through, we have to understand, they have to go through it to understand what we've been going through. That's the only way you get these kind of people to recognize who we are and what we've been doing for all our life, for our ancestors' life. And the only way to do this is to get out of that vote and let these white folks fight, get us some popcorn, enjoy the show. And go online and see how white people are crying that their white savior, Trump, and even if Kamala Harris would have won, Democrats and black people who think they're Democrats, she'd have been doing the same thing, just at a slow motion pace. What I like about Donald Trump is he's showing us that this government was never for the people. And white people, I'm talking to y'all because y'all don't have money either. It was for the rich. They got democracy. While we fight for their democracy, we lose ours. And we never had it, black people. I'm talking about to the white people who thought they had it, and now they're seeing that Trump then took their boots in their straps, and now they're seeing what black people been saying, especially the farmers, who always go against black farmers getting subsidies, which they getting now, but was getting. Now Trump then took it from them. Now they're talking about we should have listened to the black farmers. No, y'all let y'all hate get in front of y'all thinking, which they really wasn't thinking, because they thought by hurting us and the immigrants and the migrants would help them. But Trump and his goons right now is buying up all their property and their farm loans that they got at the bank. So they're going to be enslaved by their own hate. But keep talking what you're talking, Brother Jay, Brother Darrell, and everybody who participates with something positive to say to the show, and not try to disband people who comment on things a little longer than supposed to go. We got to understand it's up to us. We're not getting paid for this. It's up to us to wake up our people. Like you said, Dr. Farrakhan, Mr. Farrakhan was doing, telling us we need to go back to the way we used to be. We have to do that. And stop letting these people put fear in our head that the meat and the water that we was getting straight out of the ground was damaging, or the rainwater. Because I remember that real good. They scared us and gave us their chemicalized water, and the lead you was talking about. This is what they want us to do, get poisoned, where we can't think, where we can't even understand nothing, but fear everything if something's saying in the fact of them. And that's us as black people. Every time they put us in front of the numbers, like everything bad happened to us, we believe it's us. It's majority white folks that's suffering. They're incarcerating us and killing us. So until we wake up and realize we are the chosen people and we got to stay out of these people's fight, we're going to keep getting misled. But keep talking what you're talking, man, because you're on point with everything. And like I said, part 2 is definitely needed, because you might have some black commenters calling in and saying I took too long to give this positive message, but you're giving most of it. And tell them they ought to be ashamed of themselves for not trying to help their community if it matters to them.
Okay.
Thank you, man.
All right. Thank you, man.
All right. Thank you, caller. We definitely appreciate your passion and your zeal. Uh, the thing is that I do not disagree with anything that you've said. I might put things a little differently. I might phrase it differently, but at the end of the day, it's all about us. And this system is not designed for us to win in it. It's designed to produce false hope and to keep us running after this false hope. And as the example I gave before is that in the 80s and the 70s, you had the Jeffersons, you had different strokes, you had things that made us to think, finally we can make it. You know, we're moving on up. You understand? And we see, when you saw that, it gave you this idea that we finally got a piece of the pie. You know, that's the way the song went on the Jeffersons. And then, of course, you know, in that show, you had this interracial couple, and they were promoting ideas which would never come to fruition for the majority of black people. But they showed that to us to give us false hope. The other thing was different strokes. Black children from Harlem being taken care of by this benevolent white millionaire and going to school in a limousine, and they came from this poor, you know, that's the narrative that they love to give us, and that's the narrative that they wanted us to buy into. So they used the media to herd us into false hope. Now we're looking at it. Now we talk about the massacre in Tulsa that they call that is called by historians Black Wall Street. You had the massacre in Rosewood in Florida. You had another massacre in Colfax, Louisiana, where 100 black people were killed. This massacre mentality has never left the white majority. It's never left them. Understand, you can go online and see pictures of 100 people, 200 people posing with next to a black man whose body is burned, all smiling and in joy of the suffering of our people. And this is what we sought to integrate with after they blew up the girls in church in Birmingham. We still tried to make it work with this society, which was absolutely crazy for you to want to integrate into somebody that is blowing up your little girls in Sunday school. And now we see, you thought that was over. And then Dylan Roof proves you wrong. He goes to a church over there on the East Coast, 18 years old, goes in there with a backpack and shoots and kills 9 people in the church. So that mentality has never left. Killing us in church has never left them. That's what you got to understand. The massacre mentality, the bloodthirsty mentality, thirsty for black people's blood, has never left that majority population. It's never left. And now they're about to institutionalize it with the National Guard to where they can just have massacres at will. That's what they're setting up for. They want to be able to have massacre after massacre after massacre after massacre. And they don't want amateurs, because understand, in Rosewood and in Colfax, Louisiana, and in other places, East St. Louis, where massacres occurred, it was amateurs. It was just rednecks that just wanted to shoot and kill and just wanted to have fun off of our dying and suffering. But now they're sending in the military, they're sending in trained people. People who, all of them, can shoot you with that 50 caliber bullet from 300 yards out. They're bringing in professional killers. The same people who killed 1.88 million people in Iraq. The same people that killed 400,000 in Afghanistan. The same trained killers that have been operating all over the world. So now it's not enough to have amateurs do it. Now they're bringing in the trained military because they want to do it in a more effective way now. So the mentality has never changed. Now, some of y'all are going to say, because you're soft and weak, you're going to say it's not all of them. I had a beautiful grandmother that died of pancreatic cancer. When she died, all the cells in her body weren't cancerous. She didn't have cancer in her ears, her lips, her nose. She didn't have cancer all over. In other words, it wasn't all of her body that was cancerous, but it still took her life. You understand? I had an uncle that died of cancer. All of his body wasn't cancerous, but he still died of colon cancer, unfortunately. In other words, it ain't got to be all of them. The majority of them voted for Trump. Trump promised to bring the military in. They agree with Trump. The people you hang out with and drink beer with agree with Trump and want those 50 caliber machine guns shooting you in Chicago, in Baton Rouge, in New Orleans, in New York, in Los Angeles. They want you dead. I know you went fishing with Billy Bob, but Billy Bob don't give a damn about you. And one of the proofs of it, for the first time, when Trayvon Martin was killed, many of you had white Facebook friends. And when you saw your white Facebook friend post that Trayvon Martin was a thug and deserved what he got, some of y'all unfriended and discontinued your interaction with these white folks that you thought were your friends, thinking, listen to me well, thinking that they were just exceptions to the rule. The general rule is that when you see people on the road, understand the general rule in 90% of the cases is a racist. That's the general rule. Don't argue with me on it, because we know how they vote. We know how they act. When they brutally murdered Alton Sterling, shot him 3 times, flipped him over like a pancake and shot him 3 more times, the police union backed Salamone to the hilt, even though we saw the brutal murder. Okay? The police union, when they beat Ronald Green to death, they backed the state police murderers to the hilt. So what do we look like speaking out against our people? Some of y'all are speaking out against the New Orleans mayor. When the enemy has got one of our people under indictment, if you can't say nothing positive, stay on code and keep your mouth closed. Keep your mouth closed. When the enemy attacks one of us, we keep your mouth closed if you can't defend. Because they defend theirs. Even when they do murders on video, they defend their people. They are. Let me tell you something. White people are always on code. And why are we not always on code? Some of y'all denounce Bill Cosby because some white woman remembered 40 years later that he supposedly squeezed on the booty. Y'all sound like a fool. And here's a man that gave $50-60 million to black education. And the minute that white folks put something on their media, y'all got weak and punctified, not understanding that that was a part of a larger war against our billionaire class. See, you didn't understand that. You didn't understand that really he was reaching for media power, and that was the whole reason for these crazy accusations. Do you honestly believe that Bill Cosby had to drug somebody to get sex? When they are broke dudes who nobody knows, who's got 3 women showing up at their 1-bedroom studio apartment with no car, riding on a bicycle, and they got 3 women at their doggone apartment, and they not making but $9 an hour, and a man was sitting on $500 million and he was famous, and you think he actually drugged people? Y'all are really, really tripping, man. We don't understand that we are at war. Not that, and this is not a war right now with guns. But it is an economic, it's a chemical, it's an educational, it's a criminal injustice, it's a war on all of those. And oftentimes, as it was with Ronald Green, as it was with Alton Sterling, it becomes a physical war to murder you, as it was with Sonia Massey. And I understand some of y'all you got a garage, you got a house, your AC works good, you got 2 cars in the garage, you think we've made it. You can get those things in America. You can get those things if you're real smart. You can get them. If you work hard, you can get those things. You're going to have to work twice as hard as the white boy, but you can get them. But one thing you can't get, when that police officer pulls you over, you can't get justice. You can't get freedom. You can't get equality. All you can get is some of the trinkets that these people give you. But justice is something that is out of reach in this system for black people. Yeah, you can get a PhD. You can get a Juris Doctor. You can get all of those other things if you really, really work 3 times as hard and get half as much. Yeah, you can get something. But you can't get justice. You can't get fair treatment because we are absolutely at war.
Brother Darrell, we have a call. We have a call.
Go ahead and let's take.
Go ahead, caller. Quick. Go ahead, caller.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, caller.
Yes. Another good, powerful program. I just wanted to say it's ironic that William must be doing something else because evidently he don't have us on live. But I wanted to mention, Brother Darrell, about your governor. The governor wants to put a statue of Charlie Kirk at LSU. And that's with taxpayers' money. Wanting to try to say, freedom of speech and everything. What do you think about that, sir?
I think Charlie Kirk was a racist, a very well-spoken, articulate racist, and that's why white folks liked him, because he was able to make racism sound like conservatism, sound like honest, hard work. He was able to make racism sound good. And that's why they like Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was a well-spoken racist who wanted black people dead and demoralized and marginalized. Ronald Reagan, of course, started the crack epidemic and brought crack cocaine into the community and dumped it into the black community, and then later criminalized us for the dope that they brought into the country. Charlie Kirk is nothing more than a racist, and the idea that you would have a statue of Charlie Kirk on LSU campus, you might as well erect a statue of Hitler because he was a racist murderer. And Charlie Kirk even had these moments where he went off and his racism was on full, unadulterated display. That's just what it is. Charlie Kirk means nothing to anybody who has any doggone sense. He was a very articulate racist that wanted us with nothing. And some of the Uncle Tom black folks aligned ourselves with anti-black racism in an effort to fit in to the general society. But again, you're never going to be accepted. You're going to be used, but not accepted. Brother Larry Elder, very articulate, very well-spoken brother. But he has aligned himself with white racism in an effort to carve a niche out for himself. But at the end, he's being used, and all of those black people that align themselves with racist Charlie Kirk, what you did is a betrayal to the interests of your own people, and that's my take on it. We can hope that his family be comforted, but that his family would correct in their future dealings the racism that was articulated by Charlie Kirk. Or Kurt. What was the name? Is it Kirk? Kurt. What was it? Was it Kirk or Kurt?
Kurt.
Okay. Yeah. He wasn't any hero of mine, that's for sure.
Brother Darrell, we had another phone call. Go ahead, caller.
All right, let's go ahead and take that other caller.
Go ahead, caller.
All right. How you doing, sir? This is Brother Adrian out of Baton Rouge. Just want to let people know as we talk about how we are at war, we ought to know that we as black people are at war. When you have people that have been in jail for decades for crimes that is proven that they didn't commit, when you have celebrities in prison for sexual misconduct and yet it hasn't been proven. So we ought to know that we are at war when the only justifiable thing for us to do is to build up our own communities to protect them. And that's how we should know that we are at war. Just looking at the layers and layers of not only information, but experience that a lot of us have been able to deal with as our sojourns in America. That the only logical conclusion is that we build and protect our own communities and our own families.
I can't argue with that. I cannot argue with that. We definitely thank the caller for that insight. We have to then focus inward. We have to focus inward. We cannot allow the enemy to send us overseas for his pet projects while we ignore the serious issues that confront black people in America. Now, I'm going to mention this real quick. I'm going to touch on it, and then I'm going to get off of it. Right now, several nations are under threat. The beautiful nation of Nigeria, who has tried to befriend America, is now under threat by America under the false charge of the slaughter of Christians, or that Christians are targeted. The largest statue of Jesus in the world is in Nigeria. So the idea that the largest statue in the world is in Nigeria and the second largest in Brazil, the idea that Christians are somehow persecuted when Christians become president all the time in Nigeria, as well as Muslims, is beyond me. But there is one thing that Venezuela and Nigeria have in common, and that is oil. Okay, oil. And understand, you cannot befriend the West. I live in the West. I can tell you nobody has a word. Everybody lies. And when people shake your hand, they are planning your death. And that's what happened with Dr. King. While he was meeting with Kennedy, meeting with Lyndon Baines Johnson, they were planning him being shot in the neck and killed and leaving his children to be orphans and without a father. At the same time, they were inviting him to the signing ceremony. They knew that they were going to kill him. This is the treachery that we're dealing with. When Muammar Gaddafi came over and shook Barack Obama's hand and said he was glad and proud that a son of Africa was the president of the United States and was very friendly to Obama. As Obama shook his hand, he knew that the plan of death for Muammar Gaddafi was underway. As our politicians shake the hands of black elected officials, understand they were planning the destruction of your community the whole time. So I would just tell people to watch out for that. Understand, as the Native Americans said, they speak with forked tongue. And that's what you got to deal with. You're dealing with snakes. Okay, you're dealing with snakes. And that's what you need to understand. It's unfortunate, but we as a people need to wake up to the fact that we're dealing with snakes. And if you try to integrate with a snake, if you try to be with a snake, you're going to be struck with a whole bunch of venom delivered by very painful fangs. And that's what we're looking at today. In terms of the SNAP benefits, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us to grow our own food. He told us to do for self. He said that the stores, the grocery stores of the white man at some point were going to close to us. He said that his factories were going to shut down. This was in the 60s and 70s.
1 minute.
And we saw in the 80s and 90s his prediction come true. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan has predicted that they were going to send the National Guard into the cities. He told us about this 30 years ago, and now we see it happening. So unity is the only way. If you want to be divided, cause problems with the unity of black people, I feel sorry for you, because unity is the only way we're going to make it. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Community Defender. I want to thank all of the callers, and may God continue to bless you, and may he bless our people and bless our families as we move into very soon a new year with new challenges. Love you, and I'm just your brother. Assalamu alaikum. Hope to see you soon.